Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys are having a wonderful day. My day has been pretty solid. Today is June 17th. It is Tuesday. Hope everything's going well. This is your nightly news podcast on all the news throughout the day that I come across, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. We've got a lot of news today. It might even be the longest news recap we've ever had. I believe there has been a 30-minute one before, but I honestly think this one could be longer, truly. But with that being said, it's been an eventful day, so let's get started. The first topic we have today as we move into the Trump administration segment is yesterday, Trump left the G7 summit early. Trump left the G7 summit early on Monday due to a conflict between Israel and Iran. Trump told reporters, I will have to be back as soon as I can. We're going to have dinner with these wonderful leaders, and then I get on a plane. I have to be back early for obvious reasons. Trump said he believed that Iran was developing nuclear weapons and said, despite testimony from Tulsi Gabbard saying to Congress otherwise, Trump said, I don't care what she said. I think they're very close to having it. Iran has been 2 months away from having a nuclear bomb since the 80s. It is a horrible, horrible excuse. This war had no reason to start. Israel is completely in the wrong. How many times are we going to use the excuse that Iran has a nuclear bomb? They don't. This is the fourth time. It is a waste of U.S. manpower and resources to continuously send our troops into the Middle East for something that isn't there. If it hasn't been there the last 3 times, why do you expect it to be there the fourth time? It ain't the fourth time the charm, it's the third time's the charm. And the third time wasn't the charm. I mean, we're wasting money. We're wasting taxpayer dollars. We're wasting U.S. resources. And we're putting American troops' lives at risk in this. It's stupid. Moving on, Trump has blasted the French president. In a post on True Social, Trump has blasted French President Emmanuel Macron because he claimed Trump was working on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. In his post, he wrote, publicly seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France has mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to DC to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong. He has no idea of why I am now on my way to Washington, but it clearly has nothing to do with the ceasefire. Much bigger than that, whether purposely or not, Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. This worries me. If not a ceasefire, what? How much bigger could it be? I mean, can you really blame the French president for saying a ceasefire? I mean, nobody wants to have to send troops to die in the Middle East. Nobody wants to have to send their own people to die in the Middle East. I mean, why wouldn't you be working to a ceasefire? Isn't that, the main goal of the Trump administration? You said you wanted to end all wars. That was one of the things Trump campaigned on. He said, I'm going to end all wars. I will end them all. Ukraine will be stopped on day one. Ukraine has not been stopped. And now we're seemingly starting one. We already started one in Yemen, technically, not really, but, kind of. And now we're joining one in the Middle East again. Like, what are we doing? Why not just work on a ceasefire, Granted, I don't think Iran would give in, but, moving on. Trump is upset at Pete Hegseth over a military parade. Trump is reportedly upset with his sparsely attended military parade and blames Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for it, according to biographer Michael Wolff. He told the Daily Beast podcast that Trump wanted a menacing show, but got a festive parade instead. He's pissed off at soldiers, Wolff said. He's accusing them of hamming it up, and by that, he seems to be mad that they were having a good time. That they were waving, that they were enjoying themselves and showing a conventional, convivial, English, however you say that. I should have looked it up, my bad. Face rather than a military face. According to Wolff, Trump blamed Pete Hegseth, saying he kind of reamed out Hegseth for this. Apparently, there was a phone call, and he said to Hegseth, the tone was all wrong. Why was the tone wrong? Who staged this? There was a tone problem. Trump keeps repeating himself. In return, the White House Communications Director Steve Chung called Wolff a lying sack of shit who has proven to be a fraud. maybe this one might be a shocker, but maybe the reason the tone wasn't good is because troops didn't want to be there, Donnie. I mean, there have been many reports that troops didn't want to be there or didn't enjoy the parade. They didn't march correctly, which is a great way to display that. I watched the entire parade, and I don't recall seeing troops wave at audiences or, seemingly look to be having a good time, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. Honestly, I think he's just throwing a hissy fit because protests were larger than his crowd. Anyhow, Trump has met with the National Security Council. Trump is meeting with the National Security Council to discuss the Israeli Iranian conflict. He had to leave the G7 meeting in order to do so. Trump told reporters that he needed to be at the White House where he can be well versed on the situation and not have to rely on phones. It's unclear what's going on in the room where it happens, but there are worries all over the U.S. On involvement. I genuinely wish I could know what's going on inside of that room, but I guess I'll have to wait until I'm president one day, just saying. Anyways, man, this must be how Aaron Burr felt. Yes, that was two Hamilton references. But anyways, on a serious note, it's looking very clear that we will get involved in this war, as fortunate as that says. I don't like it. I don't think we should be sending American troops off to die in the Middle East again for something that isn't going to be there. But, I guess the American people don't get a say in that one. I guess Congress does have to be there to confirm the war, but if Iran strikes U.S. troops, I mean, at that point, I think it's just free will, or not free will. Free ability, whatever the word is. The U.S. will get involved if Iran strikes a United States base. Moving on into some truly unfortunate news, a truck carrying a tank for Trump's military parade has unfortunately killed a woman. A truck carrying one of the Army's M1 Abrams tank from Trump's military parade struck and killed the woman in Washington, D.C. The accident happened on the night of June 16th on New York Avenue while the truck was taking the tank to a rail yard in Jessup. Hold on, I gotta fix this. 1 second. There was the worst dyslexia mistake in my life, and I was not going to excuse that. Anyways, the woman whose name is not available at this time was alone at her death. It is unclear what exactly happened, but the truck driver has been cleared of any criminal intent. My condolences to the family of this woman. This is truly a very, very sad situation. I do wonder how this happened. I couldn't find any information on that in particular, unfortunately, but it is truly very sad to hear. All of this could have been avoided if the U.S. decided to remain humble, like it has been for such a long time, and not have a military parade. But unfortunately, Trump is not a very humble guy. Excuse me. Moving on into our Israel versus Iran segment, Trump is weighing in on bombing Iranian nuclear facilities. Trump is considering joining Israel's effort to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, according to CBS. One possible target could be Fordo, a subterranean uranium enrichment site, which officials believe is key to Iran's nuclear program. Fordo is almost 300 feet underground, under a mountain, and is protected by significant air defenses. There is reportedly not a full agreement between Trump's advisors on how to proceed, but Trump hasn't ruled out involvement. This situation is expanding at a dangerous rate, especially with the chance of nuclear issues. I've always been worried that I would see a nuke dropped in my lifetime, but, every day it is becoming increasingly scary that might happen, which I really hope doesn't happen now or ever. It will be hundreds of thousands of times worse than the ones dropped on Japan in World War II. And I don't even want to think about what would happen on the world stage or anything for that matter. Do I think if a nuke is dropped, that will mean World War III? No. Honestly, I think the opposite happens. I think if a nuke is dropped, the entire world will likely, hopefully, take a step back and say, whoa, hold on, what's going on here? And kind of try and de-escalate the situation from that. But hopefully, we won't have to see that happen. And hopefully, if a nuke is dropped, more aren't dropped. But I don't know. It stresses me out. It really does. I will be 100% honest. Anyways, moving on, Trump has threatened Iran's leader and calls for unconditional surrender. In three posts on Truth Social, Trump has called out Iran and its leader. In the first post, Trump claimed that the United States had complete control of the skies, writing, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody has it better than the good old USA." In another post, he threatened the leader of Iran, writing, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target. We are not going to take. We are not going to take him out." In parentheses, he put "kill" with an exclamation mark. "At least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter." In his final post, Trump wrote "unconditional surrender." That's it, just unconditional surrender in all caps, calling for Iran to surrender. I'm gonna be honest, going on True Social is like pouring acid into your eyes every day. It's something worse. Not to mention all the bot-filled propaganda comments, but I digress. Um, I'm stressing out over this one. Truly, why do we have to be? Why does the United States have to be, the country that unconditionally supports Israel? I mean, we would have so many less problems in this country, and I know it's because of lobbying and buying out of politicians and all of that, but truly, we would have so many less issues. I don't think Iran will surrender, and I don't think Israel will give up, as unfortunate as that is. I just don't think it will be the case. Moving on, U.S. military equipment in the Middle East has surged. The aircraft carrier USS Nimitz is heading to the Middle East, bringing the number of carriers in the region to two. U.S. military involvement is also moving the U.S. military is also moving large amounts of aircraft to the European and Central Command theaters in case they are needed to support the installations in the region. An official announcement is expected soon, but the carrier will join the USS Carl Vinson. And it, yeah, looking at the flight trackers, large amounts of military planes have also been moving towards the Middle East. I've been stalking the flight trackers as I do. It's scary. I cannot even give you a number on how many planes have moved towards the Middle East in the past 48 hours. It's a big number, I'll tell you that much. Bringing another aircraft carrier as well is also a huge statement. On top of feeding our troops lobster and steak, I already have a really bad feeling, as I've mentioned already, but it's not looking good. In related news, the UK is also sending in military assets. According to the BBC, the UK is sending more RAF jets into the Middle East. Sir Keir Starmer said the planes included Typhoons and air-to-air refuelers for contingency support across the region. He said the situation is moving fast, and ongoing discussion between allies shared a constant message of de-escalation. I'm sure we'll see France and maybe a few other nations follow suit on this one if they haven't already. But I really wish rather than this, someone would try and negotiate peace. Iran doesn't have nukes. That is a commonly shared thing, and it is a totally unnecessary war. But um, I don't think it matters at this point. The United States set up nuclear energy for the country, and now we're out here destroying it. It's counterproductive and it's stupid. Moving on into other news, Iran says it will strike U.S. bases if the U.S. bombs Iran and claims that the U.S. is involved. Iran has warned the United States, United Kingdom, and France that their bases and ships will be targeted if they help stop Tehran's strikes on Israel. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Arkrahi, 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 Arag, I don't know how to say that. My apologies. Also confirmed U.S. involvement, saying to state media, "We have solid proof of the support of the American forces and American bases in the region for the attacks of the Zionist regime military forces." The U.S. has denied that it took part in the Israeli attacks, but seemingly has helped in the defense of Israel, as multiple U.S. Officials have been quoted saying the U.S. already has shot down drones and missiles. Iran has the ability and right to defend themselves. I honestly thought that this would be the situation between India and Pakistan, but here we are with Iran and Israel, and this one is truly something else. Hopes and prayers to all the troops stationed in the Middle East, but I have a feeling something very well could go down in the coming days. In other news, also, the U.S. has evacuated Israel, its Israel embassy. I'll have an article on that tomorrow, as the only sources available were paid sources, and I can't afford that. So, article will be available tomorrow, as long as there are free sources. Anyways, moving into our ICE news segment, ICE has re-begun raids at farms and hotels. Trump has abandoned his pause on ICE raids at farms and hotels, ordering the agency to resume all raids in the sector. The pause lasted a total of 4 days, as Trump said he wanted to help farmers. DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement, "The president has been incredibly clear. There will be no safe spaces for industries who harbor violent criminals or purposely try to undermine ICE's efforts." That was short lived, and is really unfortunate as well. I have a feeling a majority of the farms in the United States will be shorthanded during harvest, which could very likely, have implications on crop yield this year. But alas, we'll see how that one plays out. I do tend to mention, the farming side of it because that's what my experience is in as well. But I guess expect hotels to not have, their cleaners, I guess. But at the end of the day, farm hands are a lot more helpful than hotel staff. Um, Truly, it really is unfortunate to see the amount of tax on, farm hands, farm aides. We're biting the hand that feeds us. And I've said time and time again, I really wish we had better rights for these farm workers who, work so hard in the fields to not only harvest food for us, but put food on your tables. And citizen or not, anyone should be able to work and have the opportunity for a better life in the United States. In other news, ICE has detained a New York mayor candidate. New York City's top financial officer, who is also running for mayor, has been handcuffed and arrested by ICE agents while guiding a defendant out of the immigration court. ICE agents detained Brad Lander, who is the city's comptroller, for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. Lander, who was later released, said he certainly did not assault an officer. Videos of the incident show Lander walking through a hallway and requesting agents to show a judicial warrant to detain them. You do not have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens, Lander was heard saying in the video, as ICE agents put handcuffs on him. This is the problem with ICE, as I've said time and time again. They actively attack people when they know what they're doing. And when they do something wrong, they just bold-faced lie to the American people about it. It's disgusting. ICE needs to be ended. They are over their budget by so much. They are broke as an agency, and they just attack anyone in this country who they see fit. Whether they're against the Trump administration, whether it's the color of their skin, really anything. It is a continuous problem that needs to be stopped. It is very clear that this agency has no place in, the American government or anywhere in the United States for that matter. It is actively causing problems in our society. Moving right on into our other news segment, the final segment for today, we have two topics. The first one being Trump is the first president who has been uninvited to the NAACP convention in 116 years because he's a fascist. For the first time in the organization's history, a sitting U.S. president will not be invited to the NAACP convention. In a statement on Monday, the NAACP president, CEO Derek Johnson, accused Trump of believing more in the fascist playbook than the U.S. Constitution. He went on to say, "We're nonpartisan and always welcome those who believe in democracy." My bad, there is a fly all over me. Always welcome those who believe in democracy and the Constitution. But right now, it's clear that Donald Trump is attacking our democracy and our civil rights. This administration does not respect the Constitution or the rule of law. It would be a waste of our time and energy to give a platform to fascism, which is unacceptable. J.D. Vance has also been uninvited. This isn't shocking. The NAACP has been filing lawsuits against the Trump administration since the start of this administration, but it also sends a message to the entire world. This is the first time ever a president hasn't been invited to the convention, And hopefully we see more of this, as no group or organization should stand for fascism anywhere, especially in the United States of America. The final topic we have for today is a massive volcano has erupted in Indonesia. The Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki volcano in Indonesia has begun spewing clouds of ash towering almost 7 miles high into the air. The mushroom-shaped cloud can be seen from cities up to 90 miles away from the mountain. No casualties have yet been reported, but the danger zone has been expanded 5 miles away from the crater. The 5,197-foot mountain is a twin volcano with Mount Lewatobi Perempuan, and is one of Indonesia's 120 active volcanoes sitting along the Ring of Fire. The Indonesian government has warned communities in the area of possible lava flooding due to a high chance of heavy rain. This is a terrifying situation. Of course, volcanic eruption could always lead to high casualties. So if you're in the surrounding areas, please take care of yourself and your loved ones. Indonesia is such a beautiful country. I'd love to have the opportunity to visit one day, as not only is it a beautiful country, but it's very historic and honestly a cool island nation to see. I see images all the time. It's definitely on the bucket list, along with most countries in Asia. I'll be honest, most countries in Asia are honestly beautiful and honestly so interesting, especially the cities. But good luck to everyone who might be affected by this volcanic eruption, and please stay safe. But, with that being said, this did not end up being as long as I expected it to be. But, oh well. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. It's been an interesting day, to say the least. It was a very long news recap for me. This one was almost 6 pages, which is crazy. But, that's just how it goes sometimes. So hopefully you all enjoyed. I had some things I wanted to ramble about. Oh, I remember. It is possible that there won't be a news recap on Friday. Depends on how much crazy stuff is happening. I kind of just need a break to relax a little bit, to say the least. And I am dropping a little Minecraft server with my friends, so I would like to be able to hang out with my friends a little bit, kind of relax from all the news. But depending on how interesting Friday is, that might not be the case. We'll just see how it plays out. But, fair warning, in case I am not here on Friday, there might not be a news recap. Of course, likely there will be a typed one, as always. Can't say how much involved it will be, but, I still always have to do the TikToks. So there will be at least 3 or 4 topics within Friday's typed news recap if there is not a video. So we'll see on that one. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing. We're on our way to 500 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the summer. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. But also consider dropping a like, dropping a comment down below. Love hearing your guys' takes on, all the news that I bring to you, and, your guys' thoughts and opinions. It truly does interest me to hear what you guys think or how you guys feel about these situations. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. That may pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, which I will be leaving for on August 13th. Speaking of that, during that time period, I will probably take maybe a week off of the evening news recap, which I know is really unfortunate. My apologies. I really got to figure out the situation. I don't even know if I can continue the news recap. I will be 100% honest, because I haven't had the opportunity to talk to my roommate. I haven't gotten a response, so I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know. Hopefully they just don't show up, and I just have a room to myself, which would be really nice, especially for recording these. But, as always, I will try my hardest. For looking at my college schedule, I have Fridays off. So if there isn't a news recap, I will likely start doing a weekly recap on every Friday. I just got to figure it out. Try and see if I can get in touch with my roommate, but that hasn't been the case, as I have not gotten a response for the past 2 months. So we'll see about it. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode. Later.